Sometimes you just gotta kick back and let it rock. That's what today's song is all about. One of the 80s ultimate party anthems. It's a high-octane antidote for the daily grind, really. Even though it nearly reached the top of the charts and anchored a multi-platinum record and band, this song, it actually came from very humble beginnings. This band was living in a hole-in-the-wall warehouse, complete with cockroaches. They were really slumming it. But at the same time, they were hustling hard. With an unrelenting work ethic for promotion, their band hit the streets and the clubs of LA. They were determined to make a name for themselves. They even tried to hijack Van Halen and Motley Crue fans out in the parking lot before their shows. These guys would stop at nothing to make it big time. It was platinum or bust. But either way, these guys were determined to enjoy every minute of it, as this song is the witness. Stories coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. If you remember playing night games in your neighborhood growing up, or kick the can to capture the flag, and everything in between, you're gonna dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. We always have something for you. Make sure to subscribe below right now. Click the bell so you always know when our interviews and our new stories are coming out. We also have a Patreon. You're gonna wanna check that out. There you'll find an additional catalog of exclusive content. It also helps us keep it a daily channel. We are self-funded, and that helps us immensely. So it's time for another edition of Number One on Our Hearts, the show that honors songs that are so unbelievably great, they absolutely should have been number one on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. But for whatever reason, be it radio play, lack of marketing, sheer stupidity, amongst other reasons, the song came up short. For today's episode, we're going with Poison's Nothing But a Good Time, a track that comes from their 1988 sophomore album, Open Up and Say Ahh.
This is what I'd say, don't need nothing but a good time.
I mean, they're just labels, and I get it. I don't like the term hair metal either, because it's disrespectful to these bands. Just great good time bands, especially Poison. They first formed back in '83 in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, instigated by lead singer Bret Michaels and drummer Ricky Rocket. They were soon joined by Bobby Dahl on bass and Matt Smith on lead guitar, known early as Paris. This foursome proudly adopted a full-on 80s glam metal look. Said Ricky about it, "We grew up with David Bowie and Alice Cooper and T-Rex. That's why we looked the way we did. Kiss was an influence as well." Paris was popular in Pennsylvania, this band, but they knew that if they were really going to make it, they had to get to where all the action was. So with just $400 in their pockets and their sights set on the Sunset Strip, they headed west to Los Angeles. This was in March of '83. Said Bobby Dahl about it, "We sold everything we owned and we went to LA. Sold our cars, sold our stereos, our records. I sold my record collection." Now, soon after arriving, Paris changed her name to Poison. They got to work hustling the LA club scene. According to Dahl, they were the self-promotion whores of the town. They took the cake. There wasn't a day that they weren't promoting this band. They were stapling flyers, they were knocking on doors, just whatever it took. These early years were a nonstop grind for this band. When they weren't in music mode, they were suffering through their daily jobs, their day jobs, working fast food, and doing telephone sales. At one point, selling pencils to the good people in Iowa. But it was all a calculated means to an end. The guys lived for the thrill of playing live, and they knew that they had to put in the work to make that happen full time. They were going to pay their dues. That's how it was done back then. Here's what Bret Michaels said about it. He said, "The first year you're out there, you pay the clubs to let you play. You rent a depressing room at Club 88, and if you can get just 20 people at your show and impress them, they'll bring their friends next time, and then maybe there'll be 40. This band, it was a slow-moving slog to superstardom, but they were relentless. They even poached Motley Crue and Van Halen fans. If these guys were headlining, playing at the Forum, Poison was out in the parking lot, passing out flyers, inviting everybody to come to their shows. But a couple years in, that grind, it took its toll on guitarist Matt Smith. By 1985, he was ready to call it quits. Soon to be a father, he figured he needed a more stable situation. That meant that Poison needed to find a replacement. In the process, they auditioned more than 50 guitarists. 50 guitarists. and that famously included future GNR Axeman Slash. Slash, who was looking for a breakout moment of his own, got a heads-up call from the outbound Matt Smith. Matt knew Slash was in a league of his own, and he wanted him to take over the job. He knew he'd do a great job. A lot of people don't know that Slash was almost in Poison. However, Slash, he wasn't completely sold on the idea. I mean, he was like, I don't know. They got all this makeup, and they squirt silly string at their shows. I mean, it's true, Poison was a bunch of pretty boys, and, well, Slash wasn't. But surprisingly, Slash went the distance. According to his own account, he played the hell out of Poison songs during his auditions. No doubt that's the truth. In the end, it actually came down to him and CC DeVille. CC was brash, cocksure, and talented in his own right, and in a bold move, he told the band he was going to play his own songs during the audition instead of Poison's. According to Michaels, choosing Matt Smith's replacement was one of the band's first major arguments. But it was CC DeVille who got the nod. In terms of image and attitude, he was the better match. Slash, for his part, would have to settle for, a multi-platinum mega band called Guns N' Roses. With DeVille on board and the classic Poison lineup complete, though, the band kept honing chops and perfecting their live shows on Hollywood's Sunset Strip, fully embracing that androgynous glam rock image. Poison carved out a niche for themselves, though, as an over-the-top party band, mastering the art of gaudy costumes, high hair, lots of Aquanet, and makeup for men. It was a good time excess extravaganza. Now, less than 2 years into their LA stint, Poison was feeling the effects of a massive groundswell. Named the biggest draw of '85 by a local magazine, groupies and fans, they were steadily increasing in number and sheer devotion to the band. Even buying the boys groceries and clothes to help them survive to the next day. But in a real head-scratcher, Ricky Rocket would say that all the record companies had passed on him at least twice each. Sometimes you just can't figure out what's going on in the heads of these suits, especially back then. But finally, Poison's persistence paid off. In 1986, they won a contract with the indie label Enigma Records. Soon they released their first album, Look What the Cat Dragged In, a classic. This record showcased a pair of top 15 hits, Talk Dirty to Me, and I Won't Forget You, a ballad.
Talk dirty to me. I won't forget you, baby.
Look What the Cat Dragged In, it would sell more than 2 million copies within a year of its release. By the end of 1986, Poison were finally living the dream. Having said goodbye to their day jobs, they were crisscrossing America, opening for acts like Motley Crue and Whitesnake and Rat and Cinderella. They were in it to win it. Poison's follow-up effort, Up and Say Ahh, another classic, that lifted the band to even greater heights. Already insanely popular by the end of 1987, Say Ahh, that pushed Poison over the top. Released on May 3rd of '88, this collection was jam-packed with power riffs and just irresistible hooks. Undeniably, it was Poison at their best. A massive commercial success. Open Up and Say I spent something like 70 weeks on the top 200. It peaked at number 2. It was only held out of the top spot by George Michael's Freight Train Faith. Ran into that. Even so, here in the States, Say Ahh, that would sell in excess of 5 million copies, 8 million units globally. Around the world, it went to number 18 in the UK, went to number 16 in Finland, number 10 in Canada, number 7 in Australia, and it went to number 1 in New Zealand. The album's success, it was fueled by 4 top 12 singles. There was the ballad Fallen Angel. Of course, Every Rose Has Its Thorn, one of the biggest songs of that year.
Every rose has its thorn.
A cover of Loggins and Messina's Your Mama Don't Dance.
Your mama don't dance and your daddy don't rock and roll.
And our featured track today, The Party, All the Time, Nothing But a Good Time.
How can I resist? Ain't looking for nothing.
Now, as we get into this track, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. Glasses I always wear. Right now, Zenni has a feature that you can add to any frame called transitions. The lenses automatically adapt to changing light. Transition lenses darken outdoors and then return to clear indoors very quickly. And with Zenni, you can always rest assured you're always going to get the best price out there. Click on this info button right up here to get up to 80% off regular retail prices. Do it today.
But a good time, and it don't get better than
A true calling card for this band. Nothing But a Good Time. It's the quintessential Poison track. It's a pure balls-to-the-wall party metal anthem. Perfectly sums up what Poison is all about, or what they were all about back then. You know, you think about it, this song resonates because it's truly authentic. I mean, these guys had worked their butts off for years on the Sunset Strip, paying their dues, doing their 9-to-5 jobs. And recounting the song's origins, Ricky Rocket actually said, "We wrote that song around the time we were living in a warehouse in downtown LA. We didn't have any money of our own at the time, but we would convince girls into getting fast food and taking us to the beach on the weekends. We realized that this song, it spoke to people who were just like us, people doing their best to just grind it out." That warehouse, by the way, was a hole. The band has said that they shared their beds with cockroaches. There's all kinds of suspect activities going on in their neighborhood as well. But it was affordable, and it gave them the space to rehearse. But with that kind of living space as your daily reality, is it any wonder they wrote Nothing But a Good Time? And it sounds like they wrote it with the cockroaches crawling all over. I mean, these guys, they really paid their dues. Again, the song, it's about escape. It's an unadulterated tribute to the pursuit of happiness, which was an ideology the band would champion forever. Just be happy is what they would say. In fact, Bret Michaels told Spin back in 1988, "Too many bands are starting to take their personal aggressions out on their fans. They're mad at the world and try to get their fans to feel the same thing. But rock and roll is fun. You know, we kick ass, but with smiles on our faces. We don't have to be negative to get our message across." In many interviews, the band has said that this song, Nothing But a Good Time, it was explicitly written for the working class, for everyone who, you know, the quote, lover boy, was working for the weekend. Bret Michaels begins the track singing, "Not a dime, I can't pay my rent, I can barely make it through the week." And throughout the song, he's working, he's slaving, he's breaking his back. All he wants is a chance to get away. Launching into the chorus, Bret Michaels echoes what every working class survivor is always longing for, what we're all longing for. Nothing but a good time. How can I resist? Ain't looking for nothing but a good time, and it don't get better than this. It's just a party anthem, said Bret about it. "For the hour and a half that we're on the stage, I want all the people who came to see us to forget about everything. Just have a great time." C.C. DeVille concurred. He said he was out there to give the best that he could possibly give to these people. He loved the pageantry. He loved being an entertainer. He even said he wanted the act to be like the Ringling Brothers, the greatest show on earth. "Bottom line," said Bobby Dow, "it's fun when you come to a Poison show. If you don't leave with a smile on your face, you better go get some therapy." That's how metal was, glam metal. I mean, it's taken its bruises, it's taken its beatings by the critics. I loved it. It really is one of the greatest musical times, one of the greatest eras in music. It was a great time. Not surprisingly, Poison's In Your Face live act easily translated into highly watchable music videos. In fact, MTV ate them up. The video for Nothing But a Good Time, no exception, directed by Mark Reshofsky. The promo starts out with a restaurant worker washing dishes and listening to Poison's cover of Rock and Roll All Night.
"I told you before, I'm paying you to wash dishes, not to listen to that rock and roll."
But his boss, he's a real killjoy. Turning off the music and cursing rock and roll, he completely chews this worker out. After Boss Man leaves, the dishwasher then kicks open a door in frustration. But fortunately for him, Poison has set up a massive soundstage in the next room. And there in all their 80s glam metal glory, the band launches into Nothing But a Good Time, giving us all the perfect antidote for a crappy day at work. Again, that's how it was. And that's how those music videos were. Like, you have this negative thing and then it turns into a party. I love it.
Good times.
The video, of course, was played in heavy rotation on MTV and Headbangers Ball, helping lock this song down as an essential 80s party rock anthem. Nothing But a Good Time was released as the lead single off Open Up and Say Ahh on April 6, 1988 to be exact. It reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. Also went to number 19 on the US mainstream rock chart. Went to number 36 in Canada, 35 in the United Kingdom, and it went to number 10 in Australia. Since then, Nothing But a Good Time, it's appeared on a lot of movies and TV shows, especially the last 10 years. The Simpsons, Friday Night Lights, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Balls of Fury. Yogi Bear, King of the Hill, Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, Riverdale. Grown-Ups to Regular Show, New Girl, Grind, Master and None, Young Sheldon, and The Rocker, also Rock of Ages, which boasted a triple mashup of Nothing But a Good Time, Sister Christian, and Just Like Paradise. Former two, of course, by Night Ranger and David Lee Roth. And there's the inaugural episode of Cobra Kai. You guys know I love this show. Nothing But a Good Time, the perfect song to introduce us to the working stiff version of Johnny Lawrence. Forever stuck in the 80s, just like I am, there's no doubt that this song epitomizes the All Valley Karate Tournament's 1984 runner-up.
Gotta be kidding me.
Nothing But a Good Time has also been covered by Real Big Fish, Corey Taylor, Steel Panther, and then, of course, just for good measure, there's also Corey Taylor and Steel Panther covering the song together. Always a party anthem. After Open Up and Say Ahh, Poison continued to kick out the albums and the hits. Reaching into the 2000s, the band released 5 more studio records. But only 1990's Flesh and Blood would rival the success of their first 2 offerings. That one, of course, number 2 on the Billboard 200, and it featured 2 top 5 hits, Unskinny Bop and Something to Believe In.
What's been going on in here? And give me something to believe in.
Unfortunately, around this time, tensions between CC DeVille and the rest of the band began to escalate, and particularly Bret Michaels. And after 6 years of working together nonstop, the 2 alpha personalities were on a collision course together. It all came to a head one night in New Orleans. A drunken fistfight ensued. This left CC with a bloody nose and Bret with a swollen face. CC was actually kicked off the band's tour bus, and he was stranded in the middle of a Louisiana swamp. And that wasn't where it ended, actually. A couple months later, in June of '91, Poison canceled their Flesh and Blood tour. I remember this. And then during their performance at the MTV Video Music Awards, all hell broke loose for this band. While they were playing Unskinny Bop, CC DeVille went completely off script. He started playing something else on live TV. The rest of the band, they'd had enough of CC, and he was fired. Said to Ricky about it, "It was terrible. I was never comfortable with this decision." I don't think any of us were comfortable with the decision. But at the time, they felt like they just had no choice. Moving on from CC, the band took on Richie Kotzen. This was in '93. Turns out Kotzen had an affair with Ricky Rocket's fiancée. Poison then replaced him with guitarist Blue Sarkino. But it just wasn't the same. It felt awkward to have anybody but CC DeVille on lead guitar. He was Poison's guitarist. 1996, actually November 26 of '96, Poison released their first Greatest Hits album. Featured 16 classic tracks and 2 new cuts. That one sold 2 million copies in the US, proving Americans still had a taste for that Poison. And can you guess the opening track? Yep, Nothing But a Good Time. Like I said, the quintessential Poison song. What better song to kick off the album? So after 5 years apart, Michaels and DeVille buried the hatchet and the guitarist rejoined the band. He restored the classic party metal lineup. So let's rewind back to 1988, the week that Nothing But a Good Time climbed to number 6, peaked at number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. Man, I'm telling you, it had some stiff competition for chart supremacy. duking it out with the likes of Michael Jackson, In Excess, Def Leppard, Pebbles, and Cheap Trick wasn't exactly a cakewalk to the top here.
Turning back, she got me yelling, dirty,
New sensation, new sensation.
Do you wanna ride my Mercedes, boy?
I will be the flame.
It's back in the 80s where the top 10 was always brilliant. We've actually covered most of the songs in this top 6 in past episodes. But what strikes me about this top 6, Poison included, is the sheer diversity of these songs and these artists. That's what the 80s were all about. So much variety, so much competition. I mean, I don't know how exactly you get Poison to #1 on a week like this. All that competition. But I know that this song deserved #1. So for today's episode, we're not going to say what it replaces. We're just going to give it top billing.
Don't need nothing but a good time.
To a band that was my first ever concert. I saw them on their Open Up and Say Ahh tour. And they actually opened the show with this song. I was pumped. Me and my friend Tosh Keller were screaming every word to the top of our lungs. Then all of a sudden, this drunk lady who was getting a little too into the song, she tripped and she tumbled all the way down the stairwell. I thought she was dead for a second. But then she sprung up with her fist raised, singing the chorus without missing a beat. I'm telling you, only at a Poison concert. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about Poison and Nothing But a Good Time and Open Up and Say Ah. What are your memories of this song? What are your memories of glam metal? What did you call it? What are some of the other bands we should cover on here? I think it was such a great time, this music. Tell us what your thoughts are below. Let's have a great discussion. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.